Oliver Glasner's got abandonment issues.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Up there, I think, with the legendary Premier League meltdowns, the Rafa Benitez fax press conference, the Kevin Keegan, I would love it if we beat them. It was, honestly, I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of Oliver Glasner's mouth when you're using phrases like, we've been abandoned, the heart's been ripped out of us. He was basically asking to be fired, having made it public without telling the board he was going to make it public that he's going to leave at the end of the season. And actually going to bed on Saturday night, I didn't think Oliver Glasner would survive. I was told that Steve Parish was absolutely fuming. There does seem to have been a bit of a truce on Sunday morning, but I just wonder if that's Steve Parish actually seeing through what Glasner was clearly trying to do, which was to orchestrate an exit. And I think he said to him, look, I'm not going to fire you actually and pay you off and bring in an interim till the end of the season. If you really feel that strongly, you can quit and walk away from your payoff.
I mean, we were talking about this, the idea of a truce being broken. Nonsense. Steve Parish has just not fallen for it. And Glasner's watched Maresca and Amorim talk themselves out of a job and get a decent payoff. And, arguably Manchester United fell for that immediately. Whereas Glasner is not going to get away with it because Steve Parish isn't going to pay him up. He doesn't want to do that. And fair play, because he knows he's going at the end of the season. That press conference, though, the aftermath, obviously with the abandonment and the heart being ripped out, was one thing. But the pre-match press conference, he announces he's leaving. He announces that Gay is leaving. And then everybody's in such a tiz about those two massive stories that actually halfway through the press conference, he talks about JP Mateta going as well. But that's a little bit under the radar because all the other stories have already come out. So look, this is a club that's in a serious state of flux. And the reason for it is, Dean, is that they can only spend a certain amount of money. And look, I think there is a part of you that needs to understand where Crystal Palace fit in the roster of English football. And at the moment, there's still a sort of mid-table club that are trying to break into the top half of the table and European competition. In order to keep moving up that food chain, they need to keep spending and winning. But you have to do that incrementally. You can't do that straight away, can you?
No, but I think he knows he's in a strong position, Oliver Glasner. He knows what he's brought the football club in terms of the success, both in the league and winning silverware and giving the supporters 3 magnificent days at Wembley. And he knows he's in that strong position. And so therefore he can say it. In terms of he probably doesn't care if he loses his job, and he probably could quit if he has to, because he feels as if I've brought you all the success and all you can do is sell my best assets and take away my opportunity to continue to build this football club away from me. So has he done it in the right way? No. Does it look pretty petulant? Yes. But I can actually see why. And I think he's decided, actually, we're not going to keep everything under wraps. You're not just going to be able to kind of, hoodwink the supporters to think, well, this is just Crystal Palace and this is how things work. And of course, because they're running it like a business, which is what it is. But Oliver Glasner's going, well, hang on, surely this is what the football club should be about, is about supporting each other, and if you're going to get rid of a player, well, make sure it's at the right time for the manager and the playing squad and what's happening on the pitch. They have left him. They're going to leave him so short for the rest of the season. I kind of back him a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're in this era of managers, players, football people, just like pulling the pin out of the grenade and chucking it in. They're not worried about what they say. They're just making sure everybody hears their side of the story now. And I do think, go back to the conversation we've been having about sporting directors, a lot of it is to do with the fact that football people have had enough of the algorithm nerds and the business people telling them what to do.
Yeah, but Palace have got a decent sporting director, an old school sporting director in Matt Hobbs.
I think they have now, but they've had a lot of change in that department over the course of the last year.
Friedman did okay.
Yeah, but
found
there has been a lot of change.
Yeah.
The CFO's gone, the COO's gone, the Dougie Friedman left, Matt Hobbs only came in halfway through the transfer window last year.
I think his frustration is squarely with Steve Parish. And actually, I'll go back to John Textor when he came in with White and Jordan. Now, I'm not saying that John Textor is the dream owner by any stretch of the imagination, but you couldn't disagree with him when he said that maybe Steve Parish lacks ambition. And I'll go back to when they were voting on the PSR rules and maybe changing them. Palace, as I understand it, were the only one of the 20 Premier League clubs who voted to keep the status quo. They were happy with these PSR rules because it meant they didn't have to show any great ambition.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next, whether he sticks around or goes. It's a shame because he is the greatest manager statistically in Palace's history. He's won a trophy. They've never done that before, and he could win another one.
It'd be interesting to see the reception from the fans that he gets, because I think it was mixed over the weekend. There were a lot of Palace fans who weren't particularly happy that he's spoken out. And he's not actually speaking from a position of strength here, Dino, because they've not won in 10. They've lost to non-league Macclesfield in the FA Cup, which, as much as winning the FA Cup was the greatest day in their history, that is arguably the most humiliating.
Yeah, the other thing to point out is that I don't know whether or not prospective employers, other big businessmen with their algorithms and their nerdy laptops, will be happy about the fact that he has spoken out in this manner, and it might deter them from hiring him at a big club, Dino.
I'm not sure. I mean, surely we can all see that he's had the rug pulled from underneath his feet. I mean, this was a brilliant squad that was built. Of course, the club and sporting directors and the scouts and the ownership have to take a lot of credit for the players that they brought in. But look at the talent that they're getting rid of and what they're bringing in.
They've got no choice, Dino, when it comes to Gay. And Parish will turn around and say, look, in the summer when I'd agreed to deal with Liverpool, you made it quite clear that if we sold the captain, you would consider your future. We kept him. Now you're going. Mark Gay wants to go in this window. If we don't sell him now, we're not going to make any money. What else could Steve Parish have done?
Well, the other thing is that Steve Parish probably should have replaced him, right? Okay,
yes,
so they should have got a Mark Gay replacement ready, but they haven't done that.
No.
So you talk about how good the sporting director is, and the fact that you can't turn down the offer that they've had from Manchester City, but they should have had a plan for what happens next.
Yeah.
If they're that good behind the scenes and that pragmatic, they should have had the next option.
Yeah, and I think that's a genuine frustration that Oliver Glasner has got.
Because you do have to actually have players to play the games.
Yeah.
But you can't just sell everyone
listen, again,
and go, well, it's a good deal.
And it sounds like I'm just defending Steve Parish here, but Oliver Glasner decided to play a weakened team in that last Conference League phase game.
Yeah.
And they've now got 2 extra matches to play as a result of that.
They're in the punishment round.
Yeah, so you can't have your cake and eat it.
You can.